Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Interestingly enough, when you talk about free agents and potential roster moves, there's another with ties to Seattle, and that's Richard Sherman's former teammate in Russell Wilson. And I'm only going to bring this up because it's advancing a conversation. I tell you all the time, as the story advances, we'll certainly follow it and keep you up to date as things develop. Well, earlier this offseason, of course, Russell Wilson was very displeased with the goings-on in Seattle, in particular, the lack of communication or input he felt like he had. And he verbalized that after the season. And that led many to speculate that Russell Wilson might be moved. Obviously, a deal never happened. It's certainly relevant because there is an opt-out after this season in Russell Wilson's contract, and it would actually save Seattle $11 million against the cap if Russell Wilson was not on the roster next year. Now, he's a quarterback in his early 30s. How much longer is Russell Wilson going to play at an elite level? You can use cases like Tom Brady and others that are playing into their late 30s and 40s at still a very high level, and no reason to think Russ wouldn't be that as well. But if there was going to be a time to move on, if you're Seattle, it would certainly be after the 2021 season when there's an opt-out in Russell Wilson's contract. Interestingly enough, if you remember, and I'm getting to a point here because Russell Wilson gave an interview to The Ringer, and he's singing a very different tune than he did at the start of free agency. So remember, at the start of the offseason. Start of the offseason, he was very vocal with his criticism of Seattle. His agent was shopping Russell Wilson, who has a full no-trade clause, but named the teams to which he would accept a trade, if you recall. I mean, they were serious on the Wilson side. Pete Carroll, several weeks ago, gave an interview with Rich Eisen and said this about the Russell Wilson situation.
The little bit that he said carried so much airtime that it became bigger than life. Throughout the whole process, Russell, we've always been connected. We've always been talking. We've never not been in communication, and we weren't at all at this time either. It's gone very well, even though that discussion lasted so long, and you had certain guys that just decided to keep the story going, and they just wanted to keep feeding it, and it really was much bigger than it was for us internally, and I thought we handled it really well.
It may be true that it was bigger than it was internally, but the bottom line is when Russell Wilson's agent is out there publicly saying what teams to which he would accept a trade, you have to take that seriously. And one of them was the Saints, which is why that became such a talking point here. Now, if Jameis Winston has a major season in 2021, the Saints extend Jameis and they hitch their wagon to him. If he falls on his face in 2021 and they're looking for options, Russ could very well be a possibility. But for what it's worth, Russ is now singing the same tune that Pete Carroll is. Russ gave an interview to Kevin Clark of The Ringer, and he said they've had so many great guys and players, and they have, quote, everything we need and everything we want to make a run during the 2021 season. Also went on to say, quote, I think for our offense, I'm just excited for our guys to continue to grow and make plays. It's been fun having Shane Waldron here. He's the offensive coordinator. He's been an amazing mind, super collaborative. We've had a lot of fun and done a lot of great things and thrown a bunch of touchdowns over the last 9 years, whatever it's been. It's been amazing along the journey, and it's time to throw some more and win some more games. That's what we're excited about. We think we've got a chance to win it all, and we're going to go for it. End quote. That was Russell Wilson to The Ringer, basically saying he's in line. Now, what transpires on the field will obviously determine what happens with Russell Wilson short and long term. I was a little surprised when I went and looked this up today, but Pete Carroll has now been in Seattle for 11 years, believe it or not. His first season was the Beastquake year in 2010. Pete Carroll's Seahawks have made the playoffs in 9 of his 11 seasons. Only twice, 2011 and 2017, have they missed the playoffs. It doesn't feel like it because ever since they were intercepted at the goal line in the Super Bowl, it feels like they've fallen off from the dominance of going to back-to-back Super Bowls and really dominating Denver the way they did. But I really look at this and feel like since that Super Bowl loss, yes, they've been in the playoffs each year since, except 2017, But it doesn't feel like that. This makes sense. Like maybe this is just a very abstract argument. It's just a feeling that it just doesn't feel like Seattle has been what we all felt they were during that run. And maybe it's because they've dismantled Legion of Boom. A lot of those guys that were so good defensively aren't there anymore. Marshawn Lynch isn't there anymore. So the core of what made up those championship teams isn't there. And so it's different, but you still got Russ and Pete Carroll in place. Maybe similar to what we saw with Breeze and Peyton as really the championship team from 2009. That roster was dismantled and then rebuilt, and they were still contending. But I think Seattle is just maybe one of the most interesting teams in the NFL this year, because if this season doesn't net massive results, I mean, contractually, there is a potential break for Seattle and Russell Wilson after this season. So we'll keep our eye on it. I mean, it's clear, obviously, Russ is going to be in Seattle this year. But if it doesn't go great, there's a very likely out after this season. And depending on what happens in New Orleans with Jameis, could determine whether or not the Saints are looking for a franchise quarterback, either short or long term, and whether or not Russ would be in that conversation. So I always tell you, if a story advances, we'll keep you up to date. That's the latest with Russell Wilson. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.